Hi, everyone. My name is Rhiannon, and I am the CEO and founder of RhiVive Marketing. I help small businesses and personal brands create their own blueprint for success by taking their corporate experience and helping them package and sell themselves. So I am looking forward to this conversation with Prosper, and I hope that you are too.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show, your premier destination for exclusive insights into the journeys of remarkable entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and today we've got a guest whose story is as inspiring as it is instructive. Now, Rhiannon, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here with you today.
Absolutely. Well, the pleasure is all mine. I'm a little bit starstruck. When I started marketing, I used to look at, agencies in New York and London and all those places. But that was all your work, right? So you can only imagine we were learning from you way before we even met. So I'm happy to meet my mentor today.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I have worked at the top ad agencies in LA, New York, and Detroit for the top, Fortune 500 companies, and specifically working in media buying. So you're talking like multiple millions of dollars of budgets. And that's been me. That's been my experience for about 20 years.
Absolutely. Well, we can't wait to dive into that expertise and learn a thing or two, because obviously if you're working with those kind of budgets and if you're working with those kind of companies, you learn quite a lot very fast because obviously, yes, the budgets might be big, but also you've got a long runway to work with to really figure out what's working and what's not working so you can maximize the budget. And for those that are watching right now, you're in for a treat. I mean, Rhiannon has obviously been humble by just, giving us a glimpse of what she has been up to, but she's actually the dynamic founder of RhiVive Marketing. And as she has said, she's got 2 decades of experience in top advertising agencies across New York and LA. So she has mastered the art of helping service businesses, startups, and thought leaders like yourself find their unique voice and connect authentically with their customers. Now, as you can tell, I'm already mincing my words. The nerves are coming in and kicking in hard and fast. I don't want to ruin the experience and, start saying things I'm not even qualified to talk about. Tell us a little bit about how you got into this world of advertising and marketing.
I would say I stumbled into it. I was a young, college graduate. It was my senior year of college from Texas A&M, and I had a bachelor's degree in communications, and I thought I wanted to go into PR. I had no idea. Well, I was traveling to LA. I had some family in LA, and I had a layover in Phoenix. If you think of Southwest Airlines, we do these jumper flights. So you have a layover and then you jump another flight. That's the cheapest way to get a ticket. And it's open seating. So you're not assigned a seat. So I'm sitting in Phoenix, Arizona at a layover. I'm about to graduate college and thinking I don't really know exactly what I want to do. And I noticed these 2 women wearing business suits in the waiting area about to board the plane to LA. And I'm thinking to myself, let's check mark the box here. Okay, these women are business women. They're going to LA. They've got to have been here for a meeting or something. And I want to go talk to them. I think that if I talk to them, I'm going to find somebody that knows something I don't know. So what did I do? I scooted my little senior butt into that open seat right next to the 2 of them. And I just start doing what? What is the one thing that will get people talking? If you want to talk to somebody, what do? You ask them about them. 9 times out of 10, they're going to talk to you because people love talking about themselves. So I used my communication studies practices that I was already learning in school and started talking to these women. And I ended up leaving with a business card with them having a good impression of me, I followed up with them after landing, and I booked my first job out of college. So I was a college grad with a job waiting for me in Los Angeles. Like, how many people can say that? Like, not a lot of people. So that was my first entry into hustling, meeting the right people, talking to the right people, and getting my first job. It was a small little ad agency in LA, teeny tiny place. And I sort of got introed there to somebody who sort of pulled me aside. She got to see my work ethic, and she was like, Rhiannon, you got to go to the top agencies. And I was like, what? What is this? She was like rattling off these, big companies that were held by now top 4 holding companies, pretty much own all of the big ad agencies. And she's like, you need to go be an assistant media buyer and go learn this trade. And I was like, okay. So that's been sort of the start of my career. That's how I started in advertising. That's how I ended up in paid media, specifically that department. And then in that department, early days, doing research, going, hey, I kind of like this department over here, or I kind of like this department over here. Well, back in my day of early 2000s, we had salary.com that we could go like Google different job positions and see how much things were getting paid. And I was like, paid media makes more than all these other positions, so I'm just going to stay in paid media because it makes more money. Did I like it more? No. Was I exceptionally good at paid media versus account management or comms planning or creative or copywriting? I loved all of the things. I just was like, this is my path, and that's how I put myself in a direction and I just go for it. So it was a really long story, but it's how essentially I got my first job in LA. I worked in LA for about 5 years, moved to New York. That's a whole nother story. Worked in agencies there. Got to work on Detroit a bit too, Detroit Auto. That's a whole nother experience there. And then ended up coming back to LA. I love LA. It's a piece of me. I've been here for roughly 15 plus almost 20 years of that career has been here. So I love it here. This is my home.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for obviously giving us a glimpse into your story right there. Now, what I'm really fascinated about is you saw these women and you felt you needed to take an opportunity. And what fascinated me more is just about the way they were dressed. Now, from what I'm gathering from this, packaging matters. How you show up, how you present yourself, and who you are as a person really matters. Whereas other people just rock up and, just like they're in COVID or something like that. What's your sort of perception to that? Because that then led you to identify the people and actually see if they were the right people to maybe ask that question. You didn't ask the janitor.
Exactly, 100%. And I think that that really pulls into what I'm doing now in my current job is I work with professionals, usually who come from corporate, because it's a shift. It's a shift to come from corporate to going to working for yourself. And that is very difficult to do. It's a whole different mindset. We were kind of joking a little bit pre-call talking about, you walk into corporate and the copy maker is full and, you have a pen holder that's full of pens and stacked with supplies. And especially for us in the agency, we had snacks, we had lunch, we had taps, like we had beer on tap, we had full bar, like we could stay late for a happy hour, like anytime. Because the idea is they want to keep you there, right? So like the food, the snacks, all the amenities are like there for you. And all of that mindset is one way to go about your day-to-day life, right? But the shift to owning your own business is so mental. It takes so much mental capacity to then go, okay, now I have to stock this for myself. So that mindset shift, I help people really well with that because I can completely relate. So that helps me build brands for people who come from that. So I kind of take a 3-step approach where I look at your personal brand. Everyone has a personal brand. It doesn't matter if you are the janitor you have a personal brand. So everyone has a personal brand. The second thing is your packages and how you're packaging yourself. Now, I could argue that even if you're a corporate employee, you still have a salary, you still have a value that you need to be thinking about for yourself, right? Even if you are but if you're a service provider, if you're providing services for people, what is your packaging? What is your pricing? And then the third one is visibility. And so what does your visibility look like? Because you can have this beautiful brand and you can have great pricing, but if nobody knows about it, like it's like the fast, cheap, and quick. What is it? Fast? Yeah. Fast or good, right? You can't have fast, cheap, and good, right? Same kind of thing. So, but this is, you need all three. You need to have this personal brand. You need to have your packages, and you need to be visible in order to get hired, in order for people to find you, in order for you to stand out in the crowd. By having that suit on that those women had really stood out to me, right? That was what I was looking for. I knew that they were going to be somewhat of in business, in doing something, and I was so intrigued to talk to them, right? So like our personal brand and how we show up is so important. And then it goes to the mindset thing. So making that change from corporate to being a business owner, those people who I meet who are serial entrepreneurs who have always sort of had their own business, I relate this a lot to a real estate client that I had. Like real estate, they've always sort of had their own business. They don't even think of themselves as owning their own business sometimes. Like, it's very fascinating to me. I'm like, no, you own your own business. And they're like, no, I'm just a real estate agent. Just a real estate agent, excuse me? Like, you have to be a personal brand, right? You are the agent. That is your brand, right? How you show up for people, what differentiates you, what makes you different is going to be how people want to work with you versus somebody else. That is a true service. It's a professional service to be a real estate agent. It's the same thing with a therapist client that I had, where it's like, you are also, right? Like that's a business. It's just hard, I think, for people to even think of themselves when they've been a professional service. They've been providing these services to people for so long that they go, oh, wait, I am a business. And it's like, yeah, you are a business. So it's very interesting to take from corporate mindset, working for somebody else, to working for yourself. And then also some people who have worked for themselves for so long in professional services, they just don't even think of themselves as a business sometimes. So both of those are challenges, but I can help both, but I find that the people who come from corporate have a little bit of a different language that I also speak. And so they're just people that seem to be drawn to me a little bit more, and who I help then like kind of pull out their brand from them, show them how to write packages, and then craft this visual strategy to get them to be more visual.
Absolutely. I love that. And I love that a lot. And I love how you obviously are calling it a language. Okay. There's a certain language that you speak, which just brings us back to that moment in the airport again. Sorry, because it's quite fascinating and it's quite a pivotal moment. Because had you not said the right things at the right time in the right sort of way, you wouldn't have had that opportunity to then, be afforded audience. Okay. So this is where now my question is, you had to have had an aspiration to want to look like that or be like that or be go to where they were headed to. What was it like around where you were growing up? Were there any influences that you could see, or any people that would then paint a picture of what an aspiration would be for a young girl like yourself at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have too much of that. I would say I don't come from a family with money. I have had generations of successes in my generation where like I could look at my great grandfather. He came over from Cuba on a boat and came over with tuberculosis, and he survived tuberculosis. He found an amazing wife, and they ended up building a pharmacy together. He actually was a doctor. She was a pharmacist and he was a doctor. Like, they had this great practice. They did really well. And then they had kids from there. And so, but I always looked at my poppy from Cuba as like this vision of like American dream. This is what's possible. This is what we talk about, that you can come here from anywhere and you can make something of yourself. And that was my poppy. He really pushed us in that dream and that belief. And from that, like that would be my example of what I saw as like what is possible. From there, like my dad and his side of the family was a bit more blue collar workers and like pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Like you can get it accomplished if you just keep pushing, if you just keep trying. So I definitely still had in my mind, like I wanted to be this successful career woman. I wanted to work in a corporate job. I didn't want to work with my back. Like there was like this upbringing that I was built with, which was around the sense of security that I was going to get from corporate, and this idea that there would be this corporate ladder that I could go climb. And all I had to do is show up, work really hard, do what I was supposed to do. And, this would eventually come. Turns out after all these years, I think that idea is crumbling and we are facing in especially in the United States, a big, unearthing of that philosophy, and that idea is no longer. And we're all kind of having to look around and go, hey, wait a minute, what's really going on? What's really the opportunity? Because we're seeing a white collar recession. We're seeing lots of layoffs. We're seeing lots of opportunity, that insecurity that we thought was going to be there from corporate, not there anymore. So that's why another reason why I think how I can help people is really to come back to those 3 steps and go, it doesn't matter if you're still in corporate. It doesn't matter if you're if you're a professional service. Like having that personal brand is very important right now, because that's what's going to help you get to those next levels. So kind of, again, coming back to your question is like, I was raised with this idea that this corporate dream was going to be safety, and that these businesswomen wearing suits was like, yes, I want to be that, because if I go do that, then I will have this career, then I will climb this ladder, then I will get all of these things. And it's interesting now that that's sort of like, whoa, with this whirlwind of like, that's not so true anymore. It was for me in the early 2000s, and I'm so glad that I did it, got to work at all these amazing places and work for all these amazing brands. But this new world we're in, and what my son is going to be raised in is going to be very different. And that's an interesting place we're in.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just recently, I've got a 6-year-old, and we just bought her a new gaming console. She just opened it up, plugged it in, started playing. And I was like, wait a minute. Back in the time, Rhiannon, I don't know, you talked about the 2000s. We bought a 3 CD changer, and we actually had a weekend of reading the manual, pushing the button, trying to figure it all out. So you can only imagine, things are getting easier and easier moving forward. But so you obviously now got this job. You now are in the corporate space, and you're now amongst the suits, so to speak. And was it what you expected?
Yes and no. There was definitely it was a lot of sink or swim. The agency world is not easy. It is very sink or swim. I do like to say, for example, this new Gen Z coming up and being a little bit more setting boundaries with their personal time is sort of like, you can do that? I didn't know you could. Did you know you could do that? Because I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, these kids are brilliant. Like, why didn't I think of that? Yeah, because no, it was long hours, late nights, weekends, whatever it took to get it done, you're going to get it done. And it's on that person to get it done. Or you're, in trouble or whatever. Like, there was just always like fear. It was a very fear-based environment. And New York, LA, Detroit, didn't matter. I mean, the amount of times I have been screamed at by somebody is like, 30 times, like up. Like, I mean, and that's in 20 years, like a lot of times, like, and that's like screamed at, not like just like, oh, I was whatever. It's like, that's the environment.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. That's not just like oh, I had a bad day or something. It's like, oh, there goes so-and-so screaming again in our office. Okay, I'm glad it's not me this time. It's just, it just is.
I can imagine with such high stakes, such high budgets, any mistake, anything that just goes out because it automatically has real world feedback.
Yes.
And you can only imagine, you can't take back anything that you'd have said, a spelling error or something that has just been taken out of proportion. I did joke around and say, whatever you're going to say will be used against you on TikTok, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that sink or swim mentality and that like high stakes, high stress. I mean, I remember reading an article in the last, I don't know, 15 years or something. And it was like people working in advertising where it was like a top 5 most stressful job, or maybe even top 3. And it was like up there with heart surgery, like open heart surgeon was like lower than advertising professional. I was like, oh, wait a minute. What? Like, this is crazy. It just is. That's just the world. That's the environment. And so because of that, it does lead to a lot of burnout. It leads a lot of turnover, Turnover is very common in advertising. You just work a couple years and then you go to the next place and think it's going to be better. And then you work there a couple years and then you go to the next one. And so they have a branding problem. Like they now have a branding problem because back then, for us, it was like, oh my God, I get to work at XYZ holding company. I get to work on all these major accounts, And again, this younger generation is going like, what? Like, I don't care. I mean, they don't. And it's amazing. I'm so proud of them. Like, good for them again, for having boundaries. Like, wait, what? We can do that again.
You're absolutely right. I read somewhere, obviously, but you had your own bouts of rebellion, right? I read somewhere that you actually had a time you had to defend your ability to cut a tomato in a boardroom full of executives.
Yes, you must be reading my emails. Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It was an example of doing a pitch to a group of clients, and we were talking about a Food Network integration. So it would have been like TV, online, broadcast, like all of this soup to nuts integrations that this auto manufacturer was having with Food Network. And so you're going to be sponsored here, you're going to be here, you're going to be here. And an example was like a guide on knives, and it's going to be this online base of places where you can go read these different articles about different kinds of knives. And I was like standing in front of this group of, I don't know, 20-ish people. And one of them was the CMO. And I was a little nervous, but like, I got this. I've done this a million times. I know what we're presenting. This is like the back of my hand. So I'm talking about like a knife guide as an example. Like, who needs to know what kind of knife to use for a tomato? Like I do, because I always like cut the tomato and it just like squirts out everywhere. And it like the whole room was dying laughing. They thought that was the funniest thing they had ever heard of. And the CMO was like, really, Rhiannon, you don't know what knife to use to cut a tomato? And I'm like, no, like, is that, am I really supposed to know the answer to that? Like, I would read the guide. So, yeah. Definitely ways to like bring in the room, bring in some laughter. Like getting that laugh felt good though. It felt like people are listening to me. People are like actually hearing what I'm saying, and here it is, like this CMO, like the head of all these departments are like listening to what I'm saying and like they're getting it, like, yeah, I would read this guide, this we're trying to reach this younger audience. I'm the target. So anyway, yeah, it was a really great example.
Absolutely. You see, things like that, you would never have that bounce off effect if you're just a solo entrepreneur. So you need somebody who's been there and obviously has had that feedback from other executives. And speaking of, you're talking about a CMO, but obviously within a corporate, there's different departments. You did mention copywriting, ad buying, maybe people that do the websites, development, all of that stuff. And I can imagine you would have been walking in and around and maybe learning and figuring out all of that stuff. So was ad buying just you stuck to it because the money was good, or was it something that you felt, what, I think I'll be good at this?
Yeah, what I liked about ad buying is the strategy around audiences.
Right.
So I like to correlate that to all of us as business owners have to think about our audiences. And as an ad buyer, I would literally sometimes think of like putting a hat on and like, today I'm going to be my client. And so when I worked on gaming, I had to put on a gaming hat, and like, I'm not a gamer. So like, you're talking about your 6-year-old, like all the different kinds of games and all the different genres and all the different things that they like or don't like. So I'd have to put on these hats of a different client and then think about, what does that gamer like? What do they dislike? What are their fears, their frustrations, their needs, their wants? What are the things that are going to compel them to be interested in this game? So I have to find the place where they're spending time, what things they like to do, what things they care about, in order to serve the right ad to them and then get that impression to connect. So that's why I joke about the tomato cutting guide, right? Like, that was a younger audience who was interested in food and cooking and going out in restaurants and doing things, and like serving them in a car ad is like more along with somebody who has a higher household income. They can afford to buy really nice knives. They are interested in cooking, and like they are interested in doing things. Like, so household income, demographic, psychographics is down to like things that they like and don't like. So all of that was very strategic, and it took a lot of like interesting brain work to like think about these different audiences. And that's what I really loved about media buying. I mean, yes, I also like negotiating. So like we were saying earlier about like, yeah, ask me a question, I'll like find a way around it. Like with negotiating, it's a lot like that too. You got to be tough but fair. So how are you negotiating? I've been in sales and I've been a buyer, so I've sat on both sides, and like trying to find middle ground in negotiations is a big component of it too. And I love that part also. But as a media buyer, it was very strategic. It was very, it took a lot of brain power and a lot of thought. And it's been what has served me in the biggest way, moving into owning my own business and helping small businesses and solopreneurs, because it's about the audience and how are we marketing to your audience. And so that's kind of my feedback to any small business or clients out there. If you're trying to struggle with, what do I write on my social posts? What do I write in my email? How do I write my website? Like stop thinking about like what you do. It's like saying, oh, this is what I do. Here's what I do. Here's what I do. Like, put on your audience's hat for a second and think about, what do they care about? What do they want? What do they need? And then start writing. And it'll change your tone. It'll change what you're saying. Everything will just kind of flip, and you're like, oh, now I get it.
Absolutely. And what you're saying is what a lot of businesses miss out on. They're not speaking the language that the
Yes.
customer has about the problem that they have. I'll give you a specific example. For those that are watching right now, you can see I've got a gap in my teeth. And that's a natural gap. I mean, obviously it's an ancestral gap, right? But sometimes vanity kicks in, and, you're like, maybe we can fix that a little bit to have a perfect smile, like the one Rhiannon has. And you start thinking to yourself, maybe I could get it fixed, right? So in my area, there's a dental practice, and I walk past it all the time. So I went in one day and I asked them, how much would it look like? And they gave me a quotation, and it was 14 grand. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'll come back a little bit when, this has really become a problem. So I fixed how I looked at the situation. I was like, wait a minute, I don't need this. I just need a perfect smile. So every time I walk past that dental practice, they have a sign that says new patients welcome. I don't identify as a patient. So they're letting 14 grand walk past every single day because they're not calling me in, and they're not reminding me that, hey, you still need that smile. And now, can you imagine how many other 14 grands are walking past there because they're not communicating the language of the customer?
That's right. You're exactly right. I love that. And yeah, and sort of going back to your other part of the question was the different departments within the ad agency.
Yeah.
And how like as a business owner, we're all the departments. So, yeah, I mean, you have to think about like, yeah, okay, on my social posts, what photo am I going to put? On my emails, what images am I putting? Where am I putting all of this stuff? Like, you have to think about the photos. You have to think about writing. So there's your copywriting. There's your photos is your creative department. Your let's see accounts department, right? Making all this stuff work together. Billing department. I argued with billing all the time. Billing department is like each department is its own silo. And so you have to go walk around and, this is of course before pandemic. So we walk to each other's offices, walk to different floors of big, huge buildings and go find people to talk about. These are the different things that have to get done for this client, right? And so as business owners, small business owners, we are everything. We are all of it. My favorite thing I do now in my business is creative. I help people with their styling of their clothes, their makeup, how we're taking their photos. We do photo shoots. I've flown to Dallas to help a real estate agent. I flew to Denver to help a law firm. I flew to Phoenix to help my dating coach client. Like in LA here, we have, had a client photo shoot a couple weeks ago. And the idea is like, I love helping people and like feel comfortable with the camera because it's so hard. It's so hard to like get in front of my camera and like put what clothes do I wear today? What looks good, And so that all should come from your brand and what your personal brand is and the way you show up. I mean, I'm on purposefully wearing kind of a blue colored shirt because it's part of these brand colors that I'm putting out when I do podcast and speaking is more in like the blue tones. And then on my website, I have more like pink tones and red tones. It's just, it's a subtle thing that most people wouldn't notice, but I know it because it's my brand theme. And so those kinds of little pieces is how I help my clients go, okay, when you come to the photo shoot, let's make sure we have these types of colors in a suit jacket, a shirt, a pants, and then I literally help them pick out which clothes they're going to wear. And then I go stand them in the where they need to. And I'm like, sit, hold this book, hold your laptop, hold this, sit over here and do this, like, let's look casual. But like, I want my clients to show up online, show up on these images the way that they feel like they should look. And that for them helps them make a shift in their brains where they're like, oh my gosh, like I look like that, and I had to do it for myself too. And I did the same thing. I literally had my own mindset shift of going, wait a minute, like, oh yeah, I look like that. Like, hell yeah. Okay. And it's easier. It's just that much easier to show up online. It's that much easier to write a social post or a blog if you have a nice photo that you like. It's human nature. It's human nature. Like, you can't take that away. Like, should it be candid? Should it be more whatever? LinkedIn algorithms say, like, the more candid, the better. But, like, people then feel afraid. They don't want to show up because they're afraid of what they're going to look like. So why not go get some nice headshots? Go get some good lifestyle photos. Like, get some photos that you feel good about and then put yourself out there. And like, that's what I help my clients like make that shift. And then they're like, okay, I feel better about this. I can do this. So
I like
that creative piece is awesome.
Because I work from home, right? So every time I have to go visit a client or whatever, you dress your best. And even if the meeting is for 30 minutes or whatever, I just keep walking around, just because not a lot of people have seen what I'm wearing today. So I just want to make sure. So I can only imagine if you've got really nice photos, it'll be easy for you to post them online and things of that nature. But Rhiannon, you left all this. What was that thing that then made you decide, you know what, I'm done cutting tomatoes in boardrooms. I'm not going to be doing any of this stuff. You left this. What inspired you to take a leap into entrepreneurship?
Being a mom.
Ooh.
Being a mom was the big shift for me. Everybody has a pandemic story. I call it the great reevaluation. We all reevaluated something during the pandemic globally. I mean, it was a pandemic. And mine was that I found out I was pregnant in February of 2020 and March was lockdown. And I'd waited, I was 39 by the time I had my son. So I was 38 at the start of the pandemic. And so I waited to have a kid, waited till just the right time. I just didn't know it'd be a global pandemic. And it was really hard. It was really hard to, and me and, my peers of pandemic moms, we have to go, oh, wait a minute. We didn't have XYZ. Oh, wait a minute. We didn't have help. We couldn't, there wasn't, you don't want to have people over and like immunocompromised baby. Like we didn't know. We didn't know what was happening. We didn't know. So, it was about 9 months of just me, my husband, and my baby. And I'm so thankful for it. I mean, so thankful, and everybody's healthy, everybody's fine, but it was tough. It was tough for us all. And so after that, I did go back to work. I was freelancing, consulting, for a while after that, but it still was just like the grind. I was like, well, I'm still trading hours for dollars. Like I'm still, as a freelancer, still doing an hourly rate. I'm still, in fact, it's worse than being a corporate employee because I'm just being paid hourly and I don't get vacation time. Yeah. I don't get health insurance in America. Like, I didn't get the benefits of being a corporate employee. Now I was just a freelancer. And I was like, wait a minute, this is also not working. And so through that journey of being like, okay, I've now established that I don't want corporate, I don't want freelance consulting, I want project-based work. I want a project-based with my clients. And so I'm calling it the project economy. Yep. It's been around for forever, but I think that the way that I'm framing this up is a little bit different. And it's creating a project for clients where they know a fixed cost, fixed timeline project, what they're gonna get from soup to nuts for, let's say, $10,000. What are you gonna, your $14,000 teeth, let's talk about that. If it was your $14,000 teeth, okay, and they clearly said, maybe they gave you some medical reasons. Maybe they said, your mouth is da-da-da with your jaw bite, or this, you need this and this because it's gonna help with your health or your breathing at night, right? If they gave you a little bit more judge of health reasons why you should spend that money because it's gonna be more than just a pretty smile, you're sold. You're like, oh my, 14 grand and I'm gonna sleep better? Yes, right? Like, yeah, sure. So with the project economy, I help clients from that project basis. And I say, okay, here is how, from soup to nuts, what I can build for you from your emails, from your social media, from your brand, from your packaging, help you package your pricing so you can turn around and go do the same thing with your packages for your clients. And now you're selling something for $10,000, $20,000. That's a package price. You're not trading hours for dollars anymore. And that is a difference. That's a different way to approach business. And so for me, being a mom, I was like, I need to be able to have my own schedule. I need to be able to book clients when I'm available to book clients. And I needed to be able to do it around the time that I have available, because I know that I can do more in a 6-hour day than most people can do in a 12-hour day. So if I am optimizing my time and I'm able to get done this much amount of work, who's to say that it's when I feel like I want to do it? Like if I can do it on a Saturday and my husband takes my son somewhere and I just like knock out a whole day's worth of work, I can charge what my package price is to do that whole day of work. And so that shift is where I see the world going. I see this not just for me, not just for, this is going to be the new change, I think, that we're going to be seeking, because it's done in this short amount of time. You get something done, you move on. And the drag on and on and on of like, let's have follow-up calls, like nobody wants that. You want to sign a contract. I'm going to get this done, and this is the amount of time, and you're going to have brand new teeth, and you're going to sleep better, and you're going to have all these things, and we're going to get this done in 6 weeks or whatever. We know it wouldn't take that long, but like whatever that is, like what is that clear package? And then you're like, okay, I see the benefit, I see the future, and I see how I'm going to get you there, and this is how much it costs. So fixed cost, fixed timeline. a measurement, a plan. And that's what I build in my vitality plan. So when I sit down with clients, I take them through like a 2-hour conversation. I really get to know their business. I want to know the ins, the outs, where they want to go, what their dreams are, their aspirations. I really do want to know those things, because I can't help you get where you want to go if I don't know those things. So from your business perspective, from your personal life, from your personal brand, I ask these series of questions, and at the end, I deliver a vitality plan, and it's a clear plan with a project-based pricing for the next step, which is what I call the brand elevation. And then we elevate your brand, and then I give you a clear price, and you know exactly how much it costs. And it's, yeah, I think that's the new way that the world is going to be moving.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing that with us, because that level of clarity, makes the buyer and the seller all know what they're getting in for. And when things have gone, out of scope, because half of the people, especially freelance people, just keep getting piled on stuff which is not within the project, and everything just starts to get scope creepy, and they haven't set those boundaries that you're talking about. And before you know it, they're now even much more burnt out than they were before. But you did also highlight that, during the pandemic, you had a group, or some mothers that you would connect with that were during that time. And I feel like that's also needed in entrepreneurship, where, because it's a team sport, you're talking about all these different departments. You can't literally do all of these things by yourself. And they say if you want to go far, you go alone, but if you want to go further, you go together. How do you sort of cater for that aspect, especially when it comes to the business people you're working with?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me personally, in my journey, I have learned now that I feel like everybody needs two things. They need a therapist and a business coach. And those two things, because it's a lot of mindset work. It's a lot of work, and if you don't work out your childhood stuff, it's going to come out as a business owner. So do all the therapy stuff and the business coach. And I think that has been a big pivotal thing for me, because I never invested in myself coming from corporate. That wasn't the corporate mentality. Is like, oh, once you get to the higher levels, corporate will invest in you. Someday they will hire for you a business coach. Someday you will get this type of, or your boss is supposed to be training you in these things, and there's like a training program. Garbage. So actually investing in yourself, having a business coach, having somebody take you where you need to go is so important, because that's what they do. I read this book a couple weeks ago, or a month or so ago, called Playing Big. And what I loved about the key thing I took away is that we all need an accountability partner. And it's said it this way in a lot of different business books, but an accountability partner is somebody who's helping you get through those steps. And so having that village, having somebody help you get to those next steps, is not even necessarily somebody telling you what to do. Like, my business coach is a lot less about, here's how to set up your business. No, she's coaching my mindset and saying, Rhiannon, you're a good writer. Keep writing. Like, literally, she told me that on Monday. And I was like, okay. She's like, you're overcomplicating it. Just keep writing. Okay. Like, I just need to hear that sometimes. Like, we all just need to hear these, like, come on, doing a good job. Like, coach cheering you on. And the other thing we need is an accountability partner. So through the program, I have met several different friends and stuff. It's a fantastic group that I'm in. And this one woman and I have literally become our accountability partners. So literally on Monday, every day, we message each other our list of things we're going to get done that week. And then on Friday, we check in and we go, did you get them done? Did you do what you said you were going to do? And it doesn't even have to get done. It's just the point that I have somebody to tell what I'm going to get done. And then on Friday, I have to tell her if I did it or not. So it's really on me to do the thing, and it's up to me to do the list. But if I don't have that person to keep in touch with, I wouldn't do it. And since then, I've now built on another, like a mom friend in my mom group. And she's like, I want to do that. And so now she and I do it too. And I'm like building more people who want to be accountable, held accountable, because that's as human nature, our human nature is to let it go. Like, it's fine. I'll get to it next week. I'll do it later. It's just human nature. And having that accountability partner, that village, like you're talking about in business, is what's going to get you to that next level for yourself.
Absolutely. And obviously, I think you've really, really painted a picture of how you can help people from where it all started and what it is that you're doing. And especially this accountability piece, just in case somebody also wants to, be a part of that, or just learn from you and all these other strategies that you have obviously accumulated along the way. What would be the best way that people can get started?
Yeah, so come to my website, RhiVive Marketing, and it's RhiVive. So it's kind of a play on words, because my name is Rhiannon with RHI. So RhiVive Marketing /cash out. And I have this cash out blueprint that talks about how to package and price your services in order to make money off your expertise.
Absolutely. Definitely would want to cash out right now. So I know where to go. I'm going to be putting all those links in the show notes below, and definitely, direct people your way. Now, Rhiannon, I can't thank you enough for the time that we spent on the call, but obviously it will be remiss of me to, not revisit that young Rhiannon that was at the airport, because that's where it all started. And then your journey just took off, so to speak. If we could turn the tables a little bit, and maybe you were the lady in the suits, and young Rhiannon came running at you and it's like, please, just wait for me. I have short legs. What would you have wanted to hear from them, knowing what you know now about life and where everything else has taken you?
I think that I still would have hired myself. Like, I still would have recommended the corporate journey. I think that for me, I needed the structure. I needed the discipline. I needed the support. I needed the path of corporate to educate me on how to run a business, what business looks like. I learned so much in corporate, and I'm so grateful for it. I was definitely a swimmer, not a sinker, because I had to swim a lot. But the other thing that I started doing early on that I tell people that are in corporate, so you've been doing this several years, you're in corporate, you've been trying it, learn at corporate and then start a side hustle. So don't just get out of corporate, I'm done with it, I'm burnt out. I did that too. I had a side hustle. I did real estate. I did really well in real estate for several years before deciding to do this. And so that's my other, a little bit older piece of advice. So straight out of college, go to corporate all day long. Great place to learn. Highly recommend it. And then as you've been in it a couple years, save that money, do that Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read that book early on. You got to save money and you got to invest that back in yourself. So I invested that money in, I saved it and then did my side hustle, which was real estate, and took those learnings. And then now, so much of business is a lot of the same kind of things. You start to learn your P&Ls, you start to learn your balance sheet, you start to learn all these things. It becomes okay, now I know how to do that stuff. So that's my two pieces of advice.
Absolutely. I love that, because so many people, they just think or have that vision of, in a movie where somebody's holding their box and then they've probably just left, the corporate and look behind, and then the building explodes and then they're walking into whatever they're walking into. It doesn't work like that. Great stuff. Now, Rhiannon, obviously that girl took flight and, landed in places and spaces she never thought she would. And you've, achieved remarkable success with RhiVive Marketing. But what's next? What's next on the horizon for you and your company?
So I'm going to be speaking. I'm doing more speaking engagements and doing more podcast guesting, which like this. And so I'm making myself more visible. So I'm taking my visibility medicine that I tell everybody else, and I'm taking it to the next level. So you'll be seeing more LinkedIn posts from me, more newsletters, blogs, like that's kind of the foundation. And then now I'm doing podcasting, speaking, getting even more visible. So
Absolutely. Now, Rhiannon, from what I gathered from you, obviously some people saw you and you felt seen, and you just now, sending the elevator down for others to climb up as well. And I can't thank you enough, because the things that you're doing, literally, just that whole photo shoot process that you were talking about, you're getting people feel seen and also see themselves. You're literally giving people back to themselves.
yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what you're going to be doing with all of this. So thank you so much for giving us permission to be visible. Thank you so much for giving us permission to brand, package, and just connect with our audiences in the most comfortable way possible, while looking good in the process. Who wouldn't want that?
Yes, that's right. Thank you so much, Prosper. This was fantastic. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Well, you shared invaluable insights and experiences with us today. And I think your journey just really underscores the power of resilience, clarity, and intentional marketing. So many people are spraying and praying with their marketing, and they're just not understanding why it's not working, because they have a sign outside their door that says new patients welcome, but they're speaking to the wrong crowd,
That's right.
So thank you so much for that. Now, for those that are watching, thank you also for tuning into the Online Prosperity Show. And I think if you found this conversation as enlightening as I did, just share this episode with somebody who could benefit from Rhiannon's expertise. This could be somebody who you know personally that is either looking for an accountability partner or has told you they're starting a side hustle. Those are the two people that I think Rhiannon will be best suited to work with. And anybody else who's maybe thinking of jumping across and starting a thing for their own. You could learn a thing or two from Rhiannon's experience and what she's doing to pave the way for others, so they too can be, do, and have a business that's profitable and enjoyable. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe for more insightful content like this. And from what I hear, in our next episode, we're going to be exploring ideas that would lead you to a happier and more fulfilling life. Until next time, bye for now.